Thank you for joining the webinar today. I'm Anthony Arechiga, VP of Sales and Marketing at GemFind Digital Solutions. Yeah, thank you for joining today's webinar, Grow Your Jewelry Business with the Power of Permanent Jewelry. This is one of the most exciting and fastest growing categories in the jewelry industry right now. And uh, so Niki from Permanent Jewelry Solutions is here. Thank you for being here, Niki. We've worked together on a few things, and really just brought to my attention the possibility for jewelers to incorporate this into their stores. I talk to jewelers every day about, we help with like a lot of lead generation, digital marketing, like Google ads and Meta ads and all these other things, and they're always looking for ways to drive traffic to their store. A lot of them rely on jewelry repairs and gold buying. But there's this whole other segment that is newer that a lot of jewelers, I think, don't know about, or, don't know how to get this started. So really wanted to talk about permanent jewelry, and how it could boost in-store traffic, attract new customers. Really, that's the main goal, is get new customers in your store so they could start seeing all the other things inside of your store, like engagement rings and wedding rings. There's so many opportunities there, and a whole new, bringing in a whole new line. So, and also can create experiences inside your store. So I think it's really exciting. Before we get started, though, just want to make a quick note. We'll have a live Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat anytime during the presentation. We'll see if there's any questions that are like really topical to what we're discussing at the moment. So we might, bring them up now, or we'll bring them up at the end. But feel free to type in questions throughout. I'll be kind of monitoring those questions. And for those of you that don't know, GemFind, we've been in the space for over 25 years. We specialize in helping jewelry stores create, digital marketing strategies, and we're a Shopify partner. We also do a lot of Shopify apps. We help jewelers with specifically edge integration, which is, a lot of you attendees are edge customers here on these webinars that we do. And so we integrate the edge with Shopify. So we do a lot of different things to help jewelers really scale their business online. With that being said, let's dive in. Niki, let's start at the beginning. What exactly is permanent jewelry, and what's behind the buzz we're seeing around it?
Yeah. And you want me to take over screen share?
Sure.
Okay. So before we dive right in, I'll just give a little background on myself. I'm Niki. I work with Permanent Jewelry Solutions and their sister company, Loveweld, doing all of their marketing and management. I'm also a certified permanent jewelry welder and have been background in metalsmithing since about 2017. So really immersed in the jewelry world. And permanent jewelry first came about in around 2010 by a company called Catbird based out of New York. And then from there, the industry blossomed, and Loveweld, our sister company, really took this trend and ran with it and became one of the largest permanent jewelry companies in the nation. So today we're going to talk about how you can use permanent jewelry to help drive traffic into your stores and increase your business. So I'll go over a quick agenda. So for those of you who aren't as familiar, we'll go into a little detail of what is permanent jewelry, what are some of the benefits of offering permanent jewelry, going into some background on Loveweld and the proof of concept of how this is really going to increase traffic and it's a great offering for your guests. And then how to get started with permanent jewelry if you are interested in adding it as a service. So in the chat, if you guys don't mind, if you can tell us if you've already purchased a machine, if you're already starting permanent jewelry and just want more information on how to really use it as a marketing tactic, or if it's totally new to you and it's just something that you're thinking about adding.
We'll mention this one question, and you don't have to answer this right now, but maybe when you get to this topic. Erica mentioned we've never done it due to liability issues and protecting ourselves if something goes wrong. Also, prices are really high in Stoller to have these machines, and so maybe you can talk about these things throughout, but just wanted to bring that up as one of the questions that we have so far.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get into all of that. So bring it up again at the end and we can go into specific details, but those are great questions. So, starting off with what is permanent jewelry? So, permanent jewelry is basically like a custom tailored piece that is going to be welded using a jump ring rather than closed and secured with a clasp so that it has a nice seamless finish. It can be removed by just snipping at the jump ring. So if people do ask or they want it taken off, it is something that they can do at home with, a pair of household scissors or nail clippers, wire cutters, anything like that. But for the most part, it'll stay on permanently unless they choose to remove it with one of those methods. Most popular styles are definitely bracelets, and then anklets, necklaces, rings, and most recently, within the last year, hand chains have become really popular with this permanent jewelry. Materials used solid gold, gold filled, and sterling silver. And yes, there are plenty of pop-ups that are doing some other materials. These are the materials that I suggest and encourage. Some people do stainless steel and then they'll use silver jump rings and things like that. But if you want high quality, long lasting welds that have a low level of tarnish, you want to stick with that fine and demi-fine quality jewelry. And then the benefits of offering permanent jewelry. So it'll bring in a new revenue stream for your business. It's going to increase foot traffic, spread brand awareness because people are going to talk about it. Everyone wants to know where they got their permanent jewelry piece. So they're going to tell their friends about it. It also gives you some new advertising opportunities from new creative that you can put into your ads, as well as opportunities for promos and discounts. A lot of you have very high priced items in your stores or engagement rings and things like that that you don't want to discount and shouldn't have to discount just to drive people in. But something like permanent jewelry, you can do discounts on, if they add two charms or more, they get 20% off and do some tiered discounting and discount these lower priced items in comparison to your engagement rings and anything else on tennis bracelets, things like that. It also allows you to do events and have partnership opportunities. And that is really big for spreading brand awareness in your community. So, doing different holiday events with some corporate clients, inviting them in to do, an employee appreciation is an option. Doing something with some local hotels or bridal shows or local event venues and offering your services to pop up at those. And then again, it's going to help spread word of mouth that, oh, I did permanent jewelry at so and so's wedding. And then they're going to say, oh, really? What company did you use? And then it'll bring them into the store. It also, by putting even a sign out in front of your store, letting people know that you now offer permanent jewelry, people will come in and maybe they're just interested in that. But while they're there, they get to browse your whole selection of everything that's in your store. So, really utilizing it to get people in the door and know your name, and then exposing them and using your salespeople on the ground to talk about everything else in the store and everything else you offer. So, as Loveweld has done it, Loveweld started off as just popping up. They had no brick and mortar stores. They were doing events and trying to do private parties and going to people's homes, even when at the very, very beginning, and then realized that, this is something people want and this is an experience people enjoy. So, they've created their own studios that their bread and butter is permanent jewelry. They have very little pre-made options. It's all permanent jewelry, appointment-based business structure. So, as I've mentioned, they are the largest and fastest growing brand for permanent jewelry, and we have studios nationwide across the country. We really focus on connection and customer experience because the customers get to come in and we say, designed by you for you. So these customers love that they get to pick out what chain they like, what charms they like, and rearrange, what charm goes in the middle, which ones are on the outside, what is this piece going to look like, feeling very involved in that creative design process. They When their piece is done, they are showing it off to everyone because they can say they took part in designing it and they love to talk about that. And then that word of mouth comes back to you and you get referrals and you can create referral programs with any of your permanent jewelry appointments and loyalty programs and built-in discounts that way so that you don't have to discount your bread and butter, which is your pre-made options, your engagement rings, and your other designs. We also focus on hosting events within our space. So a really big one, couples are really big. So anniversaries, date nights, and then a lot of the time we will have bridal parties come in and the maid of honor, kind of hosts the event, serves some drinks at our studios, give them that option, maybe some small bites. And then everyone gets to pick out what they want. Sometimes they get matching, sometimes they'll get their own initials, anything that they want to do. And then we also have space in a lot of our studios to invite additional vendors if we would like to make it feel like a real party. So for these bridal parties, a lot of the time we'll bring in a like makeup artist and they'll do the trial run of their makeup. And then while everyone's waiting for their turn in the chair to do their makeup, they get their bracelets and then they go out and they take their pictures so they don't have to take all of their pictures on wedding day. So you don't have to do that particular event, but you can gear any event focused that works for your business, the space that you have. And it really creates this whole experience that people are going to talk about, and you're going to get that referral business. It's also welding and showing that spark on social media has really, really excited a lot of people to bring them in. So utilizing social media to show the experience, even just pictures of all of the different customers that came in and their risks and all the different things that they designed to show all of these options, how you can really make it your own. Seeing that on social encourages other people to come in, and it really amplifies, your brand presence because everyone wants to share and talk about what they have built. And then more so for events and forming strong bonds and partnerships, like we said, with our, local makeup artist or local bridal store, things like that. And then there's also charity events that you can pop up at, and you can get yourself in front of the people and make the connections for future events, for hotel and corporate partnerships, so that you can do single payer events, which is when, the corporation would pay X amount, which covers, 300 bracelets, 200 bracelets, however many. And those people at the event can just go ahead and get welded, and it was already prepaid for. So those are very lucrative, and making those connections and then being able to sit down in front of you, your welders get to speak to them and talk to them even at the events about other things that they offer, other engagement rings, other products that they offer in the store, is again going to help bring them back. So it's a really great way. These are all things Loveweld has done and has proven to work and has allowed them to grow so quickly.
Right.
Then we'll go into how to get started in permanent jewelry. So obviously you guys know jewelry, you are in the jewelry background, you probably have suppliers for gold and silver and things like that and are able to get chains and charms, but you need to know exactly what to do with them once you have them. So first off is choosing your welding machine and making sure that it's right for you. If you have a brick and mortar store and you're like, I'm only going to do solid 14 karat gold and sterling silver, there's going to be a different machine for you than there would be for someone who's like, you know what, I want to do gold filled sterling silver. I don't want to deal with any diamond charms or anything like that because I'm just going to be popping up. So I need something more smaller and compact and easy to travel with. So there are a handful of different machines you can go through. And we do have a quiz on our site that allows you to put in all the information that is specific to your brand, and it'll generate a response to tell you what machines that they recommend. I can also answer some questions about that at the end of this. So once you select your machine, you want to purchase all your tools and equipment that you will need, things like grounding pliers for the machine so that it will actually function when you try and weld. All of your jump rings and tools and chains and charms that you need. You need to know how to actually use the welder to create permanent jewelry. So PJS also has a training course that you can take that will teach you start to finish how to weld from bracelets, anklets, necklaces, adding charms, adding multiple charms to a piece, all the things that you need to know so that you're comfortable welding. And then it goes into ordering your inventory, making sure you have a nice core collection of chains to start with. So you have enough variety. You have a difference in, different chain heights and thicknesses and textures so that your collection is designed to stack. So people will come back for a second bracelet, or they'll start off with two bracelets rather than a bracelet and a charm, but making sure those pieces go well together and it's easy for you to get that repeat business. And then, of course, you have to determine your margins and set your prices. We also have a pricing calculator, and I have links to everything at the end of this presentation that you guys will have access to so that you can help determine the prices that you want to charge, and making sure you have those margins that makes it worth it for you and your brand. And then marketing and promoting your jewelry services. So you have to obviously get the word out there that this is something that you are now offering. And we can go over a bunch of different ways to do that. Of course, the event route, the social media, the ads, email campaigns, setting up flows, doing some of these smaller events and pop-ups around town, and then going off after those bigger corporate clients and making those deals, especially with things like hotels and event venues who they offer, wedding packages and things like that. And you can get yourself to be a part of that and offer those services and events. So this is just a nice brief overview for everybody. And then I wanted to open it up to questions and we'll get into the nitty-gritty specifics of what everyone is interested in.
I have one quick question. What is like the average investment for a jewelry store to get
Yeah.
started with permanent jewelry? Yeah.
So it completely depends on the machine that you purchase and the chains and charms and things that you want to go with this. But what we start at, we have our welding machines set up into different permanent jewelry kits. So you can get started for a little under 3 grand, and that would in your kit, you would choose what machine you would like. And so if you pick one of the lower cost machines, you'd stay in that 3 grand mark. If you pick one of the higher cost machines, you might be at that 7, 8, 9 mark. Our jewelry kits include a set of chains and charms and jump rings, all of the pliers, cutters, tools, leather strips, things that you would need to actually perform a weld start to finish. And we've pre-curated all of this based on, all the experience we have with Loveweld and what we've seen the customers really react and respond to, so that we know that these chains do go together, they do stack well together, and people will come back to add on to that.
Gotcha. And I know that just from knowing your company a little bit, there's you have like this Zap welder that you sell, right? Is that and the reason why I'm asking is because we had this question earlier about liability issues and protecting yourself if something goes wrong. I would assume they mean something with the welder, but with the Zap welder, it's like a really like short, like really quick weld, isn't it?
So
Is that
all of the welders that are designed for permanent jewelry are micro TIG welders. So the spark of the actual weld is very fast and it is very tiny. So sometimes like we're even trying to videotape it or take pictures, or our customers are for social, and they miss it because it's so quick, it's so tiny, it's so small. Permanent jewelry is still relatively new, so there is no like standardization or rules and restrictions around it as far as liability issues go. I would obviously check with your providers and check with your state because things can be different from place to place. But normally, if you have regular liability insurance for your storefront, you would be covered. Loveweld does also require anyone getting welded to sign a waiver. And if there's a minor, then an adult has to sign, a guardian has to sign a waiver. Waivers, again, you can look up in your state if there's anything specific that needs to be covered. But legally within the industry, you don't even have to sign a waiver. We just recommend it to cover yourself and your own peace of mind, but it is not actually required. It would be very difficult to hurt somebody while welding. It's not an open flame, it's not soldering. Um, and the most dangerous part about it is the stylus, which is the pen that you hold to do the weld. If you poke them with that stylus is the most dangerous part that really can happen. It's very, very unlikely that the machine will, explode or any catch fire or anything like that. So the liability is pretty low.
Gotcha. Thank you. And yeah, so we're getting some questions specifically around this now. So
Yeah.
Erica asked, "Have you ever seen an injury?" And then Danny also asked, while we're at it, what are some good key points to include in a liability waiver to have clients sign before the service? But I think you had mentioned that you have. Do you have a liability waiver that you
So
share
we
with the client? Yeah.
We
Oh,
don't have one we share with clients
okay.
because it is going to be different state to state and what you want to cover, and based on your own insurance that you have for your storefront, your own liability insurance.
Mhm.
Um, but it's the same as any standard waiver. They sound very scary, but none of the things in them are actually going to happen. Like, so it's something that the only injuries I've ever seen from the welding machines has been not to a customer, but to the welder themselves. Of them when they're moving the pen out of the way, the stylus, they accidentally poke themselves and they'll get a cut on their hand. That's the most dramatic it gets. Anything else that is going to happen, they have that leather strip that you slide under the piece of jewelry to protect them so that even if the stylus does come down, it'll come down on the leather strip and not into their skin, because the leather strip will protect them, because that electrode in the stylus is just a thin, pointy, basically a little needle, so it could poke you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Danny and Erica, for those questions. Erica had the other question, which was, prices are really high and they're using Stellar as their supplier, it sounds
Yeah.
like, to have these
Yeah.
machines. So they don't currently offer permanent jewelry from what it sounds like. So Permanent Jewelry Solutions, the company that you represent, you have these machines. Are they
You.
better priced? Are they like when they go through you, or how does that work?
I haven't looked at Stellar's prices recently, but I know anyone who sells the machines, it is standard MSRP, so they're only allowed to mark it up so much from whatever they get from their manufacturers. So the prices for the machines themselves are going to be around the same everywhere, but we also do it with a marketing kit. and with a full permanent jewelry kit. So if you buy from PJS, you will get the machine, you'll get a starter collection of chains and charms, all of the jump rings you need, all of the tools. We basically just bundle everything together. And we also offer, if you buy a machine or a kit, you will get free training to be a certified welder. If you already have a welding machine, you can buy our training separately. So that's one of the benefits of ordering from us is that you'll also get all of the training and support that you need.
Sounds good. And feel free to type in any questions right now. So we did just get one more question from Erica. Can I have an estimate for to do gold chains, no plating, including all tools, just to have an idea?
Yeah, solid gold,
Mhm.
14 karat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what she
so
said.
I can't give you an estimate off the top of my head because I know you also have to select which chains you want because there's going to be a bunch of different styles. But we do have all pricing listed on our website so that you can, fill up your cart and get that estimate. For all of the tools and everything you need, you would go ahead and do a permanent jewelry kit, one of our starter kits. And again, it will list out all of the tools included, but that will be everything you need to get started. And then if you need, and you can do that separately without a machine, or you can add a machine to that bundle. So it's totally up to you. Some people already bought a machine, so they'll come in and they'll just buy the kit without the machine so that you have both options.
Sounds good.
And
Uh,
those kits without a machine, I believe, start at a little under 500.
cool.
And that includes chains and charms.
Awesome. Sahil asked a question, can one machine support 18, 14, 10, and silver?
Depending on the machine that you get, yes. So, like our Lampart PUK welders would be great for all of those options. So that's going to be a higher priced machine because it is going to deal with all of the extremely soft and reflective metals rather than the filled metals or the stainless steel options.
Awesome. Feel free to type in any other questions while we're waiting for any other questions. One question I had is, events seem to be a big part of this, and you mentioned a couple things. You mentioned bridal parties, and what are I think that there's probably birthdays is another option. You mentioned couples. There's girls' night out. Like,
Of
can
course.
you share some examples of what's worked best for stores hosting those?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I said the bridal parties are a big one because those are people that are always searching and looking for fun things to do when they're planning a wedding.
Mhm.
So those work really well in ad campaigns and email campaigns. There's also bridal shows that you can go to and have a booth at and let them know what you do. But as far as um couples go. Couples is one of the biggest that we see when at Loveweld, couples and best friends or girls' nights sort of things because people love to get welded with a friend. They don't necessarily want to do matching. They can, and a lot of them do. But for most of them, it's like, oh, we have this experience together, but I can get something that is completely my style. She can get something that's completely her style. And then it's a permanent piece to, signify our friendship and our commitment to each other. So things like that. But it's more popular, I would say, for people to come in pairs or groups than it is for them to come on their own, which is great because it brings even more people into the store.
Cool. Two other questions so far. Actually, there's a few more. Sarah asked, can you share some brick and mortar jewelry stores that you work with who have successfully added PJS into their store offering? Not sure if you're able to share that info, but that was
Yeah,
a
yeah. No, I can't share like names of everyone, but we do have a handful of case studies where that is exactly what they did. They had their own brick and mortar store that had been going for years, some of them decades. And they were just struggling to get people in the store, especially after COVID. And people are doing a lot more online shopping than they are in person. They added permanent jewelry. They actually just put to start when they first started and they just finished training, they just did a chalkboard sign out front that said permanent jewelry and a sign in their window. And that's all the marketing they did to start. And they started getting so many people coming in and just being like, what the heck is permanent jewelry? And asking questions and then realizing what it was. And then they'll also get questions because people are confused, like, oh, is it piercing? Is it, embedded into my skin? It created a lot of buzz and curiosity that they started to get a lot more people just walking in. And then they realized, okay, this is working, and we didn't even pay any money to market for this. And then they've now added it to, they had 3 locations. They've added it to all 3 locations since then and have been using it in ad campaigns mostly. And they also, that's what they do most of their promos and discounts on. And that's what they're emailing about to get people into the store. And then they have that referrals because people will come in as a group and, one of the girls in the group is, looking to get engaged. She's like, it's about time for him to ask. We've been together for 5 years. I've never been in this store. I came in here, with my best friend, and now I'm going to tell him, I'm going to drop some hints that like this is where you should get my ring. So it has really helped bring in that traffic.
That's awesome. I know that it's probably a little new of a category, but do you have any like ROI or, you know, that you can talk about of jewelers like incorporating this into their business?
Yeah, and I mean, it totally depends on how much effort you want to put into marketing it and how much effort you want to put into securing events or partnerships, or if you just want to put the sign out front. So it's going to be different as far as the
Yeah.
time that you'll get return on your investment. But like I said, it's a very low cost to start. You can get everything started for around $2,300, machine, tools, training, everything you need. So to make that back, if you're selling, especially if you're selling solid 14 karat gold, you're not going to sell anything for under $100. So you can very quickly make that back with
Yeah.
just a couple of sales. And then remember, if the base of the bracelet and your lowest starting point bracelet is $100, and then you also have charms that they can add on, that's going to bring that AOV up to about, 180. For Loveweld, most of the studio locations have an AOV of 250 or higher. So knowing that, you can do your math on how many bracelets you would have to sell. And of course, it's not just bracelets anymore. Necklaces, anklets, hand chains, the more chain you use for those, the higher you can price those. So you can earn back that money fairly quickly.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty high ROI opportunity for sure. Couple other questions. Feel free to type in any questions in the Q&A. We still have a few minutes. So Eric asked, can you share your email to Nikki? And
Yeah.
also, and then Sarah asked, if a store wants to get started with PJS for the holiday season, what is the turnaround time to receive the kit and get trained?
Yeah, so you can receive the kit within about a week. The training is dependent on you. You can definitely get through the training course in a week. That does not mean that you think you're ready and confident enough to weld on a complete stranger, on a customer who is paying for this. So, what we recommend is going through the training, taking at least a week to go through the training. And then we say, do either a friends and family little party where you can do some either discounted or maybe you'll give away some for free, but practice welding on real people. You can also practice welding, cut the jump ring, weld again, cut the jump ring, weld again while you're practicing on a friend or a family member because you want to be very, very comfortable. I would give yourself, at least 2 weeks to be welding on a person before you want to actually start welding on customers, just so you're totally comfortable.
Totally. So he'll ask, is the training a virtual training or on site?
So it's a virtual training. So we have pre-recorded training courses. We also do have a very good customer service. So if you are struggling with something, you can book a consultation with us free of charge. And we will get on a video chat with you and go over anything in the machine or anything that you're struggling with. Maybe it's your settings. Maybe when you're trying to weld, you keep blowing the jump ring or it just won't stick together because it's not properly lined up. But we would go over any issues that you have and really walk you through that so that you feel comfortable.
Sounds good. Again, feel free to type in any questions. So marketing has been, I guess, huge for this category, social media especially. What kind of posts or content are really helping jewelers generate buzz around their permanent jewelry services?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, social media is huge for this because we want to create that buzz. The posts themselves, the creative, is actually very simple. So you do not have to be someone who is making all of these crazy transition videos and have a lot of experience with video editing and professional photography. The two things that get the most attention and the most engagement is one, a video where you see the actual welding process, so just a clip of the spark. And then the other one is literally just a close-up video of a stack going like this. That's so simple. But for some reason, seeing that and then seeing another person and another person and another person and their stacks and how they're all different and how they've built it um, does super well. And then there's other quick little video clips that you can do. Like let's say you have your work tray, you lay out a chain, you lay out three charms, and the video clip is just your finger moving one charm to the other and then you show the final piece at the end. So very, very simple as far as that's concerned. If you do have, a space set up that you can bring people in and do, especially for your friends and family welds, and get some videos of, people laughing in the studio, getting welded or looking at the charms. That also helps seeing faces and seeing people being like, oh, this is a fun experience. This isn't just some stale environment that I go into and I'm nervous and I don't know how to approach it. And I'm like, I want permanent jewelry and I don't really know what I want. It's like, okay, let people know, even in your captioning, if you're not comfortable doing the videos, that, your certified welder on staff is going to help walk you through the entire process. You've gone from just being, a behind the scenes jeweler to basically being a stylist and a tailor. So this is the tailoring of the jewelry world rather than clothing. You're tailoring chains to fit them perfectly, make sure that they're comfortable, and then letting them do the design process in their minds. They're doing the full design process. And then you're going to go ahead and weld it on them. But you can help curate their entire stack. So if they're like, okay, this is the chain, I started with a Figaro chain and I'm coming back and I want something else. It's like, what pairs well with that? And it's like, oh, okay, I can recommend these three options that you can pair with this because they stack very well together. The fact that you're acting as the expert makes them feel very comfortable coming in, just like hairstylists. Whenever someone comes in to get their hair done and they're using their same hairstylist or their same nail tech or anything like that, they talk with them, they gossip with them, they become kind of friends with them. It's about the customer experience and the bond between the welder and the person who's trying to tell their story through jewelry. They're getting a birthstone of their firstborn, and that's why they want that on theirs. And then they might come back to you and be like, oh, I just had my second baby and I want to get their birthstone and add it on, add a second bracelet with their birthstone. So being able to tell those stories in social media too, even in just the captioning, if you're not comfortable with video, really paints a picture for everybody else and it starts to create a safe space and environment that people want to bring themselves into.
Awesome. Um, And I guess there's still the one question, can you share your email? But
Oh yeah, well, I can share my email at the end,
okay.
and I'm also going
Yeah.
to send these links here. So the first one brings you to the quiz, so you can pick out which welder you think is right for you. Our permanent jewelry kits, like I said, starter kit with all the tools, chains, charms, things that you need, and then you can add on whatever machine. Our welded jewelry certification is our training course. So for those of you that already purchased a machine, you can go ahead and purchase the training by itself. Then we also have this new series called Learn from the Pros, where we interviewed basically all of our corporate Loveweld staff about, different things, one of which is hosting events, one is inventory and pricing. So you can go ahead and hear from all of those people who do this every single day and how they do it. I also have a link in here to a blog post that incorporates our pricing calculator so that you can go ahead and do some basic numbers while you're trying to quote everything out and adding everything to your cart online. We also have two really cool new bundle and save options, and one of them is to purchase by the bracelet instead of trying to calculate how many inches, how many centimeters you will need for something. You can be like, okay, for the Figaro chain, I want to be able to make at least 12 bracelets out of that. So you can just, pick 12 as your option. And then for the curb chain, I want at least 20 of those. And then we also have our bundle and save, which is pre-curated collections of chains and charms that have done very, very well together and are some of our top sellers. So all of those links will be available to you. I will email that to the list Anthony will provide to me of
Yes.
everyone that was on here live today. And then you can respond right back to that email because my email will be included in there. So you will have access to me. And if you need to set up a consultation call because you have some more questions before you want to make the investment, we can do that.
Sounds good. One last question that I have is for jewelers who already have an established brand, what's the best way to introduce permanent jewelry as a new service to their audience without it feeling disconnected from their existing offerings?
Yeah. So a lot of people have had that question, and usually the first introduction we recommend giving to your customers is introducing it as a one-time event. And then from there, you can follow that up, via email and social and all of the things that you're doing and saying, this event was so successful, backed by popular demand. We are going to keep this service and continue this service. And then you can also use that time to connect it to some of the things that we talked about earlier. Like if you only sell or not only, but mostly sell engagement rings, talk about the bridal party option. So find your ways to connect it. If you only sell custom design, pre-made designs that, are designed exclusively in-house, you can still host an event and title it, designed by you for you. I'm bringing the experience of what I normally do behind the scenes and letting you guys experience it. And then you can combine that too. And you can also, if you are a jewelry designer and you want to design your own charms to be incorporated into the chains, you can do that too and use that as your launching point. So like I said, depending on what your business looks like today, you will introduce it in different ways. But the one time a first time event and they think your audience thinks it's a pop-up and something cool and fun they want to try one time only brings a lot of people in the door, and then you can bring it back in so many different ways.
Awesome. Makes sense. Cool. Yeah, let's see here. I think that's all the questions that we have for now. But yeah, anyway, this has been great. Nikki, thank you so much for sharing your insight and experience today. I think you were gonna bring up your email, or do you want to just send a follow-up
Yeah,
email?
I'm going to send a follow-up email.
Mhm.
My email for anyone who wants to write it down is just Niki, Niki, at permanentjewelrysolutions.com.
Awesome. Sounds good. And thank you, Erica, Danny, Sahil, Sarah, and others for questions today. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for your time. We do these webinars every month. We hope to have Nikki back on again, probably sometime in the new year, and do a follow-up to this webinar, as I think it's a great topic and really great way to drive in-store foot traffic. But Nikki, again, thank you so much for your time. Any final thoughts and or any other things that you want to share before we close this out?
Just that if you are interested in getting this started before the holiday season, you do still have time to get trained before that if you're placing orders, within the next week or so. And then I do want to say that if you want it to wait till the new year, Valentine's Day is a huge permanent jewelry holiday. Valentine's Day and Mother's Day are actually the biggest holidays for permanent jewelry, even bigger than Christmas. Christmas is still big, but even bigger. So you definitely would want to be trained up before February. So just keeping that in mind for